Hello Year 3. This week I'd like to share this book with you. It's called Fantastically Great Women Who Changed the World, and it's by Emmeline Pankhurst. So here are some of the women that feature in the book. So we've got, let's see how many of these you've heard of before. Jane Austen, Frida Kahlo, Mary Seacole, Emmeline Pankhurst, Rosa Parks. I think you might have heard of her before. We've definitely spoken about her in Collective Worship with Mr. Dilves. Anne Frank. So how did all these women become so fantastically amazing and great? The women in this book didn't set out to be thought of as great. They achieved extraordinary things simply by following their hearts, talents and dreams. They didn't listen when people said they couldn't do something. They dared to be different, and some of them couldn't resist a crazy adventure or three. So the first one I want us to look at is this one, Emmeline Pankhurst. Now she's very important because Emmeline Pankhurst used to live in Salford. And a very interesting fact about her is that she actually got married in our school church, in St. Luke's Church. Not many people might know that about her. But yes, she was married there. So who was Emmeline Pankhurst? Emmeline Pankhurst was a suffragette. And if we look at the back of the book, it's got some of the important words from the book. Can you see where it says suffragette? Begins with S. Suffragette, a woman who campaigned for women to be allowed to vote. So that's who Emmeline Pankhurst was, because around about 100 years ago, women in this country did not used to be allowed to vote. And Emmeline Pankhurst and a group of other women did not think that was fair. So it says, most passionate and determined campaigner that there should indeed be, votes for women. In England in 1903, Emmeline Pankhurst set out to inspire women from all walks of life, rich and poor, young and old, to campaign for an end to the law that said women weren't able to vote. These women became known as the suffragettes. With Mrs. Pankhurst as their leader, the suffragettes were determined to show these people who didn't think women had anything important to say about how the country should be run that they were wrong. She believed women did have important things to say about how the country should be run. You can see in the picture here, it says, the poster they're holding up, it says, "We demand to vote." And the badge that she's wearing says, "Votes for women." And the caption says, that's her giving a rousing speech to onlookers with her suffragette daughters, Christabel and Sylvia. Deeds, not words. Emmeline said the only way to make people take the suffragette message seriously was to use deeds, not words, even if it meant getting into trouble with the police and sometimes being sent to prison. So deeds were like actions. It wasn't just good about talking about these things, they had to do them to show that they meant business. So what kind of things did the suffragettes used to do? They used to protest with banners. They used to disrupt political speeches. So when the MPs were talking, they would interrupt. And they would chain themselves to railings. And look, there she is chained to a railing there. And it says, "No, I shan't move," to try and make themselves heard. Votes for women? Never. That's what people used to think. Emmeline had a tough time persuading society that votes for women was a good idea. The idea shocked and scared some people. That man saying, "Preposterous. Women's brains are far too small to handle voting." That's how they used to believe in those days, that women were not as clever as men. But we know that's not true. And that lady's saying, gasp, if women get the vote, they might stop marrying. Hooray, women get the vote. In 1918, the law was finally changed and some women aged over 30 were allowed to vote. It wasn't until after Emmeline had died in 1928 that all women aged over 21 were allowed to vote. And now in this country, women are allowed to vote from the age of 18, which is the same as men, but that took a long time to happen. And it says at the bottom here, the suffragettes need you. If you had been the suffragette to hand out the most copies of the suffragette newspaper, you might have won a new bicycle. It would have been painted in the suffragette colours, purple, white and green. You could have cycled far and wide recruiting more suffragettes. That means trying to persuade other women to become suffragettes. Okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed that little introduction to Emmeline Pankhurst. If you'd like to find out more about her, then maybe this afternoon you could have a little look on Google, see what interesting facts you could find out about her to share with me. Maybe you could make a poster like this all about her. Okay, and why she was so important. If there's one of the other women in this book that you would like to know more about, then make sure you send an email and let me know which one I should read about next time. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.